All right. Welcome, everyone. I know there's a couple of other people that were definitely interested. They should be trickling in, but I want to honor everyone's time and get started right on the hour. So, because we are talking about spiritual things and we're in this frequency, I want to open up the circle with simply uh, opening it up to the directions and asking for protection and allowing for what needs to come through for us to come through. So, I want us all to take a deep breath to start off with. And I have Grandfather Fire here with us today. So, we're going to honor Grandfather Fire and our protection candle and closing our eyes lightly and just picturing the light of Grandfather Fire in our hearts, lighting up our paths, feeling into our gratitude. Thank you so much, Grandfather Fire, for always being with us and lighting our path and for showing us the way, for warming our hearts, warming our physical body, for feeding us what we need in our nourishment, in body, mind, and soul. I want to open it up to the four directions, to the east, where the new light and the new day begins, where Father Fire sits to spark inspiration and transmutation of all that needs to be transmuted, to the south, to the place of our inner child, to the place of the waters for cleansing and clearing. Thank you to the guardians of the south, to the west, to the place of women, to the place of our traumas, to the place of darkness, to the place of Mother Moon. Thank you for always shining your light on us and showing our shadows, illuminating our shadows so that we may embrace ourselves wholly, fully, and completely. Into the place of the north of our ancestors. Thank you to all that came before us, to the place of the winds. Thank you for clearing and cleansing our auras and for all of your protection. To Father Sky up above, to Brother Wind, thank you so much for opening up the skies, for allowing all of the light codes, all of the rainbow medicine to come through in our lives. To Pachamama down below, thank you for supporting us, for sustaining us, for teaching us, for grounding us. And to the center, as without, so within, to the heart of our spirits. Thank you for bringing this book into our lives and giving us another piece to the puzzle that we're all walking on this path. Mitakuye Yasin, Hejona Ishkli, Hejona Nasha. All of our relations, all is beautiful again. Aho. All right. Welcome, everyone. So, I know some of you are unable to turn on your cameras, but I would really love to hear from everyone today, if possible, if you're unable to turn your cameras on. And really excited to talk about this book. I had forgotten so much of the teachings and a little glimpse of what happens after death. And so I don't know how many of you actually finished the book or how many actually read the book. So I'm just going to start off with a little bit of a synopsis to kind of calibrate everybody. And then I have some intriguing questions for everyone. I would love to hear from you. So in Journey of Souls, Dr. Michael Newton, he is a hypnotherapist. And over the course of 29 years, he guided many people into their past life memories. And he used a very specific method to do this. And he discovered that people could basically go beyond memories of their previous lives and into a place he calls the life between lives. I personally have done past life regressions, and I've also done life between lives, which is basically after you die, your soul goes through this review of life, right? And it's really fascinating and curious on how they're able to put you in such a trance where these memories come up. And it's like a very spiritual space that souls visit between incarnations. And in Newton's findings, he suggests that our souls aren't tied to just one life, that we've reincarnated many lives over. And each soul goes on a continuous journey. He even in the book, he even describes of other places other than Earth where where we might reincarnate as well. So moving through many times or many lifetimes, each bringing unique lessons and experiences that help us grow in our spiritual paths, in our soul's path. And in the book, he shares stories from clients who undergo hypnosis and remembered what it was like in this spiritual realm, right? They described choosing their next lives. And I've often heard that from many people where we um choose our parents, we choose this life, right? And at first I could not accept that. I was like, there's no way I would have chosen this. But the more and more I walk this path, the more and more I see the lessons. So it's really interesting. He also describes, or he also goes into how they describe choosing or getting to know their guides and choosing the challenges and growths and opportunities up ahead. And in the stages of the afterlife, he talks about the death and transition. He talks about the orientation phase, which is all around after we've passed and gone through the death phase. There's like this gentle review of what happened in our lifetime, right? So there's this process of what we experienced, of our successes and our failures and our growth. And then we move on into this sort of like life review with our councils of elders, is what he called it, I believe. And this stage provides clarity and direction for the soul's continued evolution. And then the final, what I understood to be the final phase, is planning for the next reincarnation. And of course, within that, there's like soul groups and all this other detailed information. But I want to stop there for a second, since I just shared the bulk of this book in the stages. I'm curious to know, how has reading this book, how has some of these concepts and descriptions of what happens after death, how has it changed your personal outlook on life after death, and or how has it validated your perception of it?
Hi, this is Sia.
Hi,
I would
Sia.
like to respond. I just love this book because there was a lot of things that just confirmed things that I've experienced growing up, even as young as when I was a kid, with how you're like saying being reincarnated at, in other places outside of this earth. And I remember when I was younger, I would always have these dreams about not being on this earth and traveling actually outside of the earth and going to another planet and stuff. And so there's just all these things that were just connecting with, especially being part of, well, now Sacred Oaks, I guess, and really bringing awareness to my gifts and accepting it, and with the whole mediumship and how that all works. And I'm like, why are we so afraid of death? Because I go, death is a beautiful transition that, okay, our body can no longer hold us, but that doesn't mean we disappear and we're nothing, but we constantly are, and we're all one. And so it was like a revolution, I guess, for me, like just all these revelations, I should say, that just was like cemented and confirmed through this book. And I was just like, wow, okay. And I feel like I've always known this, but because of, growing up with with outside sources of us telling otherwise, and with the religion that I grew up with, knowing, it was just like, no, this isn't right. And I just remember, even at such a young age, of trying to find the answers. And it's like, this is not giving me the answers, because I go, this is not true. There's more, there's more, there's more. And reading this book is just like profound, and just was like, aha, like I can breathe. And I'm just like, yes, 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 in full on, full body agreement. So thank you for recommending and bringing up this book. I ended up getting, I think, the other one, another book of his. So thank you so much.
Amazing. Thank you. I don't know why I'm tearing up. Like I feel like everything you just shared resonates so deeply with me. And yeah, I'm going to hold off my own reaction, but yes, thank you so much for sharing that. And yes, I I fully resonate. Who else would like to share?
Oh, Irma, you can go first. I only read the first like three, four chapters, so I'm gonna let you
Oh,
go first.
okay. So I read this book, I think, a few months back prior to this, and then another one that Jazzy had recommended. So I don't know if I'm going to toggle between both of them,
Yeah,
but
I mean, they both have, I know which one you're talking about, Many Lives, Many
yes,
Masters.
which is like still my favorite book ever.
Yeah, it's, yes. If anybody wants to continue this journey, Many Lives, Many Masters, it's a very short book. It's amazing and it totally applies to this book. So please go on. Irma.
Yes. Um, I feel like ever since I got like into this line of work, I'm no longer scared of death. Um, as well. So I think this was like validation. And then it also I feel like when my parents cross over, I think I'm gonna take it a lot better. Yes, I know I'll still have like a human experience and be sad and stuff, but I know that they'll always be with me. Um, and then I grew up very Catholic, so I think I don't know if it's in this book or the last one, when you're in between and you're waiting to get called on, it's kind of like I used to think in purgatory, and it kind of reminded me of like kind of the same where you're I guess according to like Catholics, like you're not in heaven, but you're not in hell. You're just kind of there. And it kind of reminded me of that. I'm like, okay, there has to be like some truth to this, like intertwined somehow. So I feel like that resonated with me a little bit. Again, I don't know if it's this book or the other one, but I don't know. I loved it. I also think more about like, okay, about like my purpose, why I'm here. Like I chose my parents. Like, why would I choose a specific parent of mine, but then I'm like, okay. And then now that I know that my daughter, I have a young daughter, that she chose me, I feel like I have to do so good in life and I want to teach her. And I'm like, I don't know what lessons she has to learn, but I want this life to be like smooth sailing for her. And I need to heal. And I've been on this healing journey of like, and Jazzy's taught me this, like when you heal yourself, you heal your ancestors, and then you heal like who's to come forward. And I'm really honing in on that. And I'm like, okay, I know I had come from a strong line of women, and I want my daughter to just like live such a beautiful and peaceful life where she's not on survival mode. Like, yes, she'll learn her lessons, but I know she chose me for a reason and I don't want to let her down.
Hmm.
So that's like a lot of it was just a lot of validation on both books, you guys. Like the other one is amazing, Many Lives, Many Masters for sure. But yeah, the author's amazing.
Incredible. Thank you, Irma, for sharing. Very beautiful.
Thank you for sharing your last phrase. I admit, it got me all teary-eyed. Hearing what well, here we go. Well, why not? So hearing, that you don't want your daughter to go through life with, those stresses, and you want it to be easeful, and part of my journey has been trying to kind of recover, so to speak, from the grief of losing my father in 2010. So for some reason, I viscerally felt, Irma, that what you said was from my dad. So that's why I'm having a moment right now. Woo! The Weepy Willow returns. I like to jokingly call myself that. What I'm curious about, because I didn't get too into the book, but I am very intrigued. So I don't know how many of you have watched the movie Astral City. How does that, so those of you who have read the book, have seen Astral City, how does that intertwine? You know what I mean? Like that in between phase? I guess I'm curious. That's kind of my question for others. I just
I'm
kept on hearing, ask about Astral City. So
yeah.
here I
I
am.
plan to share about that, but I'm actually curious to hear Sia's version of that. I'm sure she's watched it since that was one of the things we did at Sacred Oaks.
Okay.
Sia,
Yeah,
did
I
you?
feel like it's definitely intertwined, and there's a lot of it really goes together,
Okay.
you know. Um, yeah, I feel like it really goes together, but there's so much more, and that's like one part, but there's so many layers
Okay.
I
also.
agree. I agree. So in Astral City, I think the part that he's in the movie. So if you guys haven't watched Astral City and you're wanting to continue this, I highly recommend it because and it's on Gaia, I think. And Astral City, I think the portion he's at is immediately after death and then his review. He didn't really do a review of life, but he's like in this in between and you're kind of watching him go through his transition and he
Yeah.
like with his pod of soul or he's with his soul group, right? Because the one thing I didn't get at the end was like, oh, he's moving on to the next city. So is there a bunch of other cities, which makes sense based on Newton's version of this of like, oh, there's soul groups and we all kind of stick together in those soul groups to learn from each other. And we're all learning in these pods together. And once you move on, you're in a different frequency, your color of aura changes as well, and you're now like moving on to the next thing that you're going to be learning in the next group that you're going to be with. And so I think that Sia is right. Astral City just hits the iceberg, the tip of the
Okay.
iceberg on that. And this book goes so much deeper because he interviewed so many people, not interviewed, but put them under hypnosis. Like he put so many people under hypnosis and he kept getting similar experiences and similar stories. Like I think it's just like bringing all those pieces together.
Together. Yeah. I did find it interesting how like they're talking about like the tuning fork and the vibrations and that and like you're just like zoom, kind of whoop, just beaming to wherever you're being magnetically pulled. I thought that that was really fun. And I guess like the last part of my share is it did bring a lot more ease towards the death and dying process. And I guess I could almost say that I've been doing a lot of shadow work, so I almost like prefer that area. I have been, and I realize I need to do a little bit more, not necessarily 3D, but more, in the light work now. So just funny.
Hi, I'm new here. Actually, well, today's my first meeting. Um, and so I've never heard of this movie that you guys are talking about. I would definitely want to watch it, but I didn't hear what Jazzy said that where do you go to watch this or
It's
what
on
is
it's on an app called Gaia. I'll send it via email so you have it.
Oh, Gaia. Okay.
Yeah, it's through like
Okay.
Amazon or something. It's one of their like subscriptions through that.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay, so you have to pay for the subscription too. Okay.
Yeah, you could probably find it on YouTube.
Yeah.
I'll look to see.
Mhm. Okay. Just because, like I said, it's never heard of it. I'd want to see it. As far as the book, I did read. I was reading it. Um, and I don't know if everyone else does the audible. Is that you say it?
I did it for
Um,
3 or 4 chapters. That's how I
Yeah.
was doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just that it kind of kept throwing me off because it kept going, you know how it'll say uh, the doctor said
Doctor
or
and then the
whatever. Oh
subject.
yeah,
Dr.
and it was
N.
just like, that's irritating me. I'm sorry. So I thought, geez, I think I just need to get the book because it just kept. I don't know. I don't know if it was just I was been, I'm not used to that, so it kept throwing me off, and I just thought, okay, maybe I'll go back to it, and I still haven't gone back to it, but it doesn't mean I don't want to read it. It's just, I just kind of was. Don't know if anybody else felt the same way. Sorry. Oh my gosh.
I mean, I did that. I thought it was silly, but I also was
Mm-hmm.
being lazy in the fact that I didn't want to like read and process. I'm learning
Mm-hmm.
for me, I need to hear it. Sometimes I just gotta hear it. So I had to kind of take one.
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably what it is too with me is I have a hard time trying
Awesome.
to do that.
So in order to make sure that everybody has a chance to go, Kimberly, did you want to share any reflections?
Just that I think I had a similar reaction to you when it was talking about choosing parents, or just because, I have an extremely tumultuous, like, non-relationship with my father, and my mother also kind of had a sort of tumultuous relationship with her before she passed away. So it kind of made me reflect on that through a different lens and be like, okay, like, what is this trying to teach me at this point in my journey? And then just the idea of going through multiple lives gave me comfort too, because it made me think about when my grandmother, who passed away about 10 years ago, I was with her in her final moments, and I remember her kind of like sharing with us about how she was scared but she was excited. And at the time in my spiritual journey, I was kind of like, there's nothing, like, I didn't vocalize this, but I was like, there's nothing after this though, because she was like a hardcore Christian, like Orthodox Christian lady, like a deacon of her church. And I just didn't subscribe to that. So, it gave me comfort there because I was like, oh, there is something for my grandma. It's just maybe not what she expected, but is better,
Mm,
So that was cool. I liked that.
that's awesome. So for me, everything you all said exactly reflects for me as well. When I first read this book a few years back, I think it was like 2018, 2019, it gave me a lot of comfort, and I no longer had, I was no longer afraid to die. And it also made me think that, yeah, I was indoctrinated into the Catholic Church and all this. And to me, reading this like made the most sense to me. Like it resonated the most, like Sia was saying, like there's like everything that I was reading in this book, I was like, that sounds true to me. That felt true at my core. And then going back to what Idma was saying about, when her parents die, she's going to have like she feels like it's going to be a different experience. And I can say, I read this in 2019. My grandma passed in 2022. And I had always said that when my grandma died, we were going to need two funerals because I was going to go with her because I was just so close to my grandma, and I'm also a Leo and I over dramatize stuff. So, anyways, when she passed, I actually had a lot of comfort. And in the times that I couldn't feel her, I always went back to like, oh, she's probably reviewing her life. She's probably busy trying to process and heal from this life and doing her reviews. And there was like a long time, and even in like some of the folklore down south in like Central and South America, like your ancestors don't come to visit you until about a year after they passed. And I feel like, again, pieces of the puzzles are coming together. Like that's probably why they can't come and visit us, because they're over there even though time doesn't pass the same way it passes here, they're probably reviewing their lives. They're probably healing, drinking their little soup like in Astral City. That was the part I didn't like about that movie. Like, I don't want soup and sitting in a courtyard listening to boring music. Like, I didn't like that about that movie, but I understand now that that's probably what your soul needs in order to heal, and time to be able to process what just happened on earth. And so that gave me a lot of comfort. And very recently I have felt like my grandma's passed 2 years ago. I have felt her more and more coming through in a lot of my ceremonies, and a lot of like when I sit with cacao or when I sit in meditation, like I feel her a lot stronger. And I understand now, like there is a new relationship to be formed there in the afterlife. And this book actually helped a lot. That one and Many Lives, Many Masters helped a lot with my own healing process, and a lot with understanding what happens in life after death. That's my reflection. Welcome, Laura. I don't know if you read the book and if you have anything that you want to share in terms of your reaction to the book.
I didn't read the book, but listening to you guys, at first I wasn't gonna come because I didn't read the book, and I had a meeting right at this time, and it got canceled. And I'm like, this is a sign I have to show up. There has to be a reason why I have to show up to this, because I felt guilty not showing up. But just listening to you guys, I always feel like once one career is over, my next career, my next thing is I want to be a death doula. Maybe I needed to hear this because I feel like a lot of people are so afraid of death, but I think it's just our next transition to meet the other side and, become one with everything. Like I obviously I will feel the pain when, I felt it when my sister left us in 2017. I felt it when my grandmother left. And I know it hurts not only your soul, but your whole being. But then at the same time, I feel the calmness, and I could understand them, and I miss them. And sometimes when I miss them so much, I kind of feel them. And I think that a lot of the times the pain or the fear that people have is because they don't want to forget that feeling. And I just think that I needed to be here today to hear you guys say it, and to like it sort of says to me that that's what I need to do eventually. That's where I'm gonna go.
I got chills when you said you were going to be a death doula. That's awesome. I love that. Thank you for sharing, Laura.
Thank you guys.
So I want to move into the soul groups because I found that to be very, very fascinating in the book. And so Newton's clients describe being part of soul groups. They're like small clusters of souls who reincarnate together across various lifetimes. So to support each other's growth, they come into the lifetime. I always think of it like, oh, what was my conversation with my parents when I was going to reincarnate with them? And it's probably like my dad probably was like, I'm going to teach you how to love yourself because I'm not going to give you any love. So I make up these little conversations with my parents' souls. So anyway, soul groups may consist of friends, family members, or partners who play different roles in your life. The connections are significant, and people often feel a deep sense of familiarity or instant connection with certain individuals because of past lives or because you're tied to that soul group. Can't tell you how many times I've had people tell me, like, you look so familiar. You have a very familiar essence, right? Like, I felt that immediately going to Sacred Oaks. Like every single person there, I think we all said, like, this feels like we all made a contract with each other that we were going to meet here. Right. So within these groups, souls may alternate roles. So, for example, a mother in one lifetime might become a best friend or a mentor in another. with each interaction helping all members to evolve to our next level, right? So soul groups serve as a support system, providing mutual guidance and learning across multiple lifetimes. So my question to you all is, knowing this concept of soul groups, that we are often reincarnated with the same souls across multiple lifetimes, do you believe you've met someone in this life who might be part of your soul group? And how does this concept impact your view or relationships and connections?
Oh my goodness, Gabby. That is such an amazing question. I can say that there are several people that I come across. Like, I feel like with my soul, there's so many layers and so many various groups of people that I've come to contact, or there's this on a soul level. So there's like there's been stages in my life that I now call the secret four stage, where I've had many lovers. And so I feel like in this lifetime I've been through 2 divorces, 2 marriage, 2 divorces. But there's been a couple people, especially the past 7 years of my life, that came into my life, and especially the one who I'm with now. We've been in partnership for about over 4 years, but I feel like he's like this. We've had many, many lives together, and I feel like this is a time that we've finally been able to be together. And I've had dreams before I met this person. And so we finally connected, and it was like 2 years ago when I go, oh my gosh, you're the guy that I've been dreaming of. So it took 2 years of us being together for me to realize. But then I have another person before him where I felt a very strong connection, and we were like an hour away from each other. When we met, it was like instant, oh my gosh, I know you. And it was just very interesting, like on this level with partnerships and, with the family we choose. And so these were 2 very recent experiences that I've been really sitting with, that like, these are like that small clustered of group that we are just so divinely connected, and on such a deep soul level that there's been many, many lives we spent together. And like, not just me being a woman, but probably even as a man, into like where I've done some I don't know if you would call it past life regression, but it was like a feeling that was done. I know my soul is very, very old, that came back in this lifetime to release some stuff there. But it's like I feel like there's several different clusters that I'm connected with, not just like a few, if that makes sense.
Totally. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that. I love how you said, like, oh my God, I recognize you. Like, I know who you are, right? Because he even goes into that in the book, where there is something within our souls, or there's like a mechanism that's built into us when we reincarnate, so that we're able to recognize each other on Earth, because we have this amnesia put over us on the, when we reincarnate, that we need that mechanism to be able to recognize, like, oh, you're part of my soul group, and I'm here to learn something with you. I'm here to experience something with you. So that's really beautiful. Thank you.
I loved that so much. That was, I loved it. I loved your message. When you, like, it resonated a little bit when you've said you've had like your relationships and divorces and partners and whatnot. I remember when I was younger, if if a relationship didn't work out, whatever, I'd be like, oh, maybe in our next lifetime. But I stopped saying that, and I don't believe that, because I'm like, I don't want to create that karma. Like, didn't work out for a reason. I'm good. Like, I let it go. But I do feel that we do come in and we do have like our soul groups. And that you like I have had a friendships where I like have loved this like individual so much. And then after the transition of like whether it be like a decade or so, and we just like outgrow each other, I strongly before I used to take that really hard. It was like harder than like a breakup because it's like the person that you confide in, it's like the person you speak to on a regular basis. But now I feel like okay, like we we're here for a reason, like we met up in this lifetime and it's okay to outgrow each other, like our souls, like they did its thing and then it's time to go. And for me, like as I'm getting older and relationships or friendships don't work out, I am like okay with parting them because I feel like they serve their purpose in their time and I'm open to like, okay, who else do I need to meet in this lifetime to like I don't know about like I don't know what the how to phrase it, but like what am I supposed to learn? Like what else am I supposed to learn in the, like as of today or who am I going to meet that is going to benefit me and my purpose. So I don't know what you said like totally resonated with me.
Mm. Beautiful. Thank you, Idma.
Mhm.
Anyone
I have,
else? Oh yeah, go
I have
ahead.
as far as like a soul group, I think I actually believe that my husband was part of my soul group. Um, and I actually um, kind of predicted that he would be my husband. And and it's crazy to think because I'm about 6 years older than him. And when I first recognized him, I guess, because I didn't know why, I kept on just being, I don't know, sent to him for some reason. He was 6 years old. He was a little kindergartner. I keep saying that, so sad. It's funny. But he was a little kindergartner. And I just felt this overwhelming sense of care for him. And, I thought I was crazy. I was a 12-year-old, going to be a teenager and thinking, like, what am I so worried about a little 6-year-old, And so, anyways, life happened. And about oh, maybe 13 years later, maybe 13, 14 years old, 14 years later, I happened to the guy that was my boyfriend at the time that I was 12, and I were not together anymore. And he ended up bringing my now husband with him and a group of his friends. And we met up at a restaurant to have just drinks and with my friends and his friends. And he brought my future husband with him. And we got, we got to know each other. And from that day forward, we've been together, and it's been like 26 years now that we've been together. And I've loved my husband. Like, I don't know. I just feel like I feel sometimes that we're like one soul. I don't know why, but I feel like really connected to him. And that's the closest I could relate to maybe somebody being, in my soul group that is with me in this lifetime that I feel is my husband.
Mm.
That's my take on that. That's my story.
It's
That's all.
beautiful. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Irene.
Thank you. Hmm.
So lovely. Anyone else?
I'll go. Thank you everyone for sharing. I kind of want to bring it back to when I think you go by Sia, is that correct? What you were speaking about with like meeting like almost like many, lovers within this lifetime. So I have a crazy story. When I was in the academy still, and I was coming back from intensive, oh my God, my flights and like everyone who I was meeting was like, it felt like a mind F. It felt like I was meeting, honestly, like I had never met these people in my life. It felt like that they were like lovers to me in another lifetime or something. The way that they were like connecting to me, it was very weird. And then my last flight home, my seat got flipped last second, and so did the gentleman next to me. He was like in his 80s. So you were talking about living multiple lifetimes, intertwining, I think earlier someone was. And so he said he could read he could read me. So that was fun coming off of ceremony. He said he could read me and that basically he was my husband, but I had left him for someone who could dance better. And I currently in this lifetime have been dancing for like 31 years. So it's just like, it was very all eerie. And so when you say soul groups, I definitely believe it to be true, even when it's kind of creepy. That was my creepy share. But obviously, you know, everyone in the academy, that was just, we all opened up to each other. It just felt different. Then I have a few very close friends who it's just like, you get each other and you don't have to speak, and that's that. And there's just like a deep, pure love. So, yeah, that's my share.
Beautiful. Anyone else? I think for me, I'm so used to being in groups of my soul group. Like, you know, there's two people here from a company that I used to work for. I definitely feel like a lot of the people in that company is part of that soul group of mine. Like we just all related and all clicked, and it's like the best team I've ever had, the best time I've ever had at a job. And I deeply believe that most of us were part of the same soul group. And so it's very jarring for me when I come across people that are not part of my soul group, because it's so evident. There's such a disconnect. There's also a jarring effect that I think I have a very confronting effect on some people as well. Either you gravitate towards me and you spill your beans, or I'm so confronting that you want to start a fight. That just happened this weekend, actually. It was really interesting. Like, oh, these are not my people. These are not my people.
Anger!
Wow, little Jazz.
So I
So
think
funny.
that I'm very
Mhm.
much in this lifetime, I'm very much in tuned with and connected with the souls that are part of my soul group, and we're all very much together, either walking the same path, learning the same things, or I'm most of the time learning from them, and vice versa. They're learning from me one way or another, whether it's on purpose because they come and they want to learn from me, or I'll say something and then years later they'll be like, one time you said this thing, and I'm like, oh, what did I say? Because I never remember, right? So I think it's really cool that we're all connected in that way. And I think it's also really cool when I see people that are not part of my soul group and they're living the best life that they can, even if it was in anger or whatever. It's like, oh, they're on their own journey. They're in a different frequency, looking to do different things, and that's okay. And that has actually helped me come into acceptance to like not be liked by everybody, not have to please everyone, because they're just not part of that group. They're not part of this soul group, and that's okay. And that's kind of helped me kind of conceptualize that. That's my share.
Oh.
Oh, go ahead.
I just wanted to share this part. I'm not sure, but I had a reading, and the lady that did my reading, was telling me who were my guides, and she did mention that one of the guides was a lady that I had a previous life with, and that she was there uh, helping guide me, I guess. And I just thought, okay, I don't know what to think of it, but I just thought I'd share that because of this, where we're talking about the soul group. And she just said, oh, this lady says, you had a life with her. Your previous life was with, you knew each other or something. I'm like, oh, okay. She's telling me the year and stuff. And I'm like, oh, okay. Wasn't too long, 1912 or 1920. I was like, oh my God, I was alive back then. Anyways, I just thought I wanted to share that.
Thank you. Yeah, that's the next point, because Newton does go into spirit guides. So I'll skip the one and go right into spirit guides for now, since you've brought it up. But he talks about spirit guides playing. I'm just going to mute you for a second. Spirit guides play a vital role in Newton's accounts. So these are advanced souls or entities assigned to support individual souls through their reincarnation cycles. So they serve as advisors, as protectors, as teachers, helping souls navigate challenges and stay aligned with their purpose. And it's an agreement. I think he talks about how the guides choose us, which was really like, I was very like taken aback. I was like, oh, I thought I chose my guides. But apparently, according to one of the accounts or a couple of the accounts, the guides choose to work with us. And during both life on earth and the time in the spirit world, spirit guides offer guidance and encouragement. So they may help souls choose their next lives. They're like a counsel, right? So they provide insights during their life review and even send very subtle guidance in our daily lives. Newton's clients report a very profound, loving bond. And as a matter of fact, I've seen hundreds of near-death experiences, and every single person is almost in tears when they talk about meeting their guides, because there's just so much love between them. They feel this love bond with their guides. And the guides exhibit extreme patience and understanding regardless of their soul's progress. So it's really, I felt that he didn't talk a whole lot about guides, but that portion of it, my ears perked up, because I often think about what it would be like to meet my guides, right? And so I don't know if anybody has any reactions or anything that you would like to presence about spirit guides. And thank you, Irene, for presencing that, your experience with that. I actually also had a medium tell me that one of my guides, or somebody that was watching over me, I don't think she's a guide, is somebody that I've reincarnated with many times in other lifetimes. I know who it is, and I believe it. And so again, they're like pieces of a puzzle, right? You're not always going to get all the answers all at once, but you're getting little bits and pieces to kind of put together.
So is there a question on like spirit guides? I guess like what's is there a question right now?
Do you want me to pose a question?
It's like
So any thoughts, reactions, or anything that you want to share on your worldview on spirit guides?
well, for me personally, I know I'm trying my best to connect and make it so it's easier for me to do so. My intrigue is so one of my mentors, she had said like, there's 7 main ones around you, right? But she's more of a, find out for yourself kind of gal, right? And then I have another mentor. Yeah, I have one feminine and one masculine, and they definitely have differing ways of things. So this was a Lakota elder, and he told me, you know, the 7 presences that were there. I'm wondering if this is exactly my guides, because then I'm going to be curious because most of them were animals. So
That's interesting.
I do know I have a lot of ancestors that are wanting to speak with me, and I'm trying to figure that out as well. But
You know, it just came to mind as you said that. There was something that Goose had said in one of our classes around how his guides were showing up and how they will take shape and take form however we will best receive them.
okay. So maybe it's just right now they're like, honey boo boo, all you can handle is a simple butterfly.
There you go.
Yeah. So, you know, I've been told what these energies are, and it makes sense based on where I've gone in my life so far, but there are only like 3 human-ish entities, so yeah.
Beautiful.
Well, mine said his name was Dog. I call him Dog. So,
Hey,
you
you
know.
know.
And it's so funny because almost a half a year before that, I was looking out my window in my room and I was watching a cloud form, and it formed into a dog. And I actually took a picture of it and I sent it to my friends on Facebook and I said, "Does anybody else see what I see?" And everybody was like, "No, no, no." And I said, "Oh my gosh, I see a dog." And then I sent another one with the outline of it. And 6 months, almost a year later, I have this, I don't know what it was, a vivid dream. I don't know, but I know I was not here in this earth. I was out somewhere else. And I said, "What's your name?" And he said, "They call me Dog." And I didn't put them together until the next morning when I woke up. And I went and grabbed my picture on my phone and I looked it up. I said, "Oh my God, this can't be, this is real. This is not a coincidence,
Mhm.
So that would be like my other, that's one of the things, like I said, it's like weird that these little signs here and there just been connecting, like, but yeah, what a trip. No, and then now that I tell people like, "Oh, I had this dream," and they're like, "Uh-huh, okay," so, but anyways, that's what I wanted to share with you guys on my part.
Awesome. Thank you.
Mhm.
Anyone else? Any reflections on spirit guides?
I can share. I love this conversation. Um, like, for me, I'm a bit of a rebel where no one can tell me nothing. And so I was thinking books out.
Oh,
Like, I only work with one guide. And I want to say it was like my second year. Now, you've had 13 guides. And then now it's like I have several different guides. And one of them that was revealed to me even before I started shamanic 6 years ago, she appeared to me as an elemental. And I know her with me there was a child and would fly with me in a sense with my soul in various places. And then in the past few years, I do have a guy that is, I should say, very hideous looking, but so gentle. So the being or the guide revealed itself. The name is not something you can say, it's a sound. But it was very scary looking if we were to look at the being. So they came across like, "This is me," and I was like, oh, when it was revealed. And it was just being in the silence was where, they come when I'm able to calm down enough. And there's been a way of distinguishing how they kind of come and feeling their energy. That's been kind of how I've been maneuvering. But then, you know, I like would always come as legions. There's many, infinite that would come through. And I think probably it's just with my journey at this time of what's been happening. But it's like we have so many and we don't have to limit. They can come in so many different shapes and form for different reasons, for different teachings. And so that's just been my experience with the spirit guides, is that it's many forms, many shapes, and it may not even come in with the language, but you can actually like feel their energy, and that's how they speak versus, with words. And so it's been quite interesting, because for me it's always been like, oh my gosh, is this for reals? Is this for reals, or am I crazy? Should I go into get checked in or checked out? And but I'm perfectly sane, and I'm fully in it all, and I think that's why it comes, being open to receive it all is another portion of it, and I'm full on ready. So that's been my experience. And even yeah, I'll just leave it at that. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you, Sia. Anyone else have any reflections on or experiences with spirit guides, or reflections on what was said in the book on spirit guides? So I've always known that we have spirit guides, and it's just based on like the Catholic prayers that I learned as a child in Spanish. Like I just always knew I had guardian angels. It's something that my mom always instilled in me. We would always, she taught me how to say Ángel de mi guardia, which is the guardian angel prayer at night. And I just always felt safe. And then sometime in my late teens, early 20s, I kind of let that go and didn't believe in it. And one day in my early 30s, I'm in this house already. I'm on the couch and I'm like pissed off because my health has declined. I don't feel good. All of this other stuff had happened. And I said, okay, spirit guides, if you are for real and you are with me, I need a sign that I cannot miss. And I let it go. The next day, I'm leaving the house, and on top of my garage, there are over 20 crows, all looking at me, squawking at me. And that was the moment I knew. I was like, okay, I got you. And now that is the sign that the guides are with me. Like I was coming home from a retreat earlier this year in May, and my friend was driving and she was like, oh my God, the birds are all suicidal, but I'm over here enjoying them because that is my sign that they're with me, that they swoop in front of me. When I when I walk around my neighborhood, there's always crows or hummingbirds or parakeets that come by, and they fly so close and near to me. Even twice now, I've had a crow come and just fly and hover right next to me, and we're just like looking at each other eye to eye. And that's my sign that my guides are with me. When my sister was living with me, I remember my hypnotherapist that does life between lives and past lives. She was like, oh, it's really interesting. You have an extra guide with you today. And we looked into it, and it was a guide that was helping me. She's like, they're here to support you in the move. And I was like, she was like, are you moving? I was like, no, but my sister is. And she was like, oh, you have a guide that's supporting you through that. Cause it was a very tumultuous time for me. It was we were at each other's throats basically. And I had an extra guide that came in. So I do believe that we have a core team, especially one main guide that is always with me. That's my personal belief. That was the contract that we made, that throughout this time here on earth, that was going to be my soul, that was, or my guide that was going to be with me. And then there are several other ones that are in my soul group that will come in and out depending on what's happening in my life right there and then, that will come and help and support during that time. You know, going through the academy, obviously our gem guides came through at that time to come and support us, likely a soul contract that we had with them before we came into this life, right? And it doesn't mean that they're always with us. It just means they come in during the times that we need them the most, which is when we're doing alignments. That's how I see it anyways, or what I believe to be true. Take what resonates, leave the rest on the table.
So
Okay,
it's funny that you talk about the crows, because when my sister was in the hospital and they were doing tests to see if she was going to be okay when they took her off life support, I came home to get clothes before, because we were taking turns staying with her. And there was a lot of crows. There was a lot of crows. And usually, because every time they would say that, they would say when the crows come, it's because they're coming to tell you someone is going to pass and they're here to guide them. And there was a crow that was making all kinds of noise, and it landed on the hood of the car, and it just looked at me. And I looked at it, and it was just looking at me and moving its head and looking at me. And I said, okay, it's okay. I'm ready. And it was like it stayed there just like to let me know that it was going. I felt like the way it was looking at me and moving his head like it's going to be okay, that I felt at peace. Which, and every so often, like the around the area, a lot of crows come, and one of them comes and just sits there and starts making all kinds of noise. So then I look at it and I said, okay, it's okay, I'm okay. And then it goes away. So I feel like, they're walking with me. I don't know why. A lot of the times, like my daughter's like, oh, it's scary. They're all coming this way. But then they'll leave. They just come and visit. I feel like they're visiting. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it, but I understand how you felt.
yeah, no, you explained it perfectly. Yeah, that's exactly how it happens. I think they send us signs in the best way that we're going to be able to receive it, right? You're
Mhm.
definitely noticing the crows. Most people don't look at birds. Most people
Yeah.
don't look up, period.
Yeah.
Right? And for some people, it's a color. For some people, it's numbers. For some people, it's a variety of different things, right? They're going to talk to us in the way that we're going to be able to receive it and for it to land for us. So I totally thank you for sharing that, because I can totally resonate with that. Beautiful. Anyone else? Okay, so I want to talk a little bit. We have about 25 minutes left. I want to talk a little bit about soul purpose and lessons, because that's the number one reason why people come to see me as a Reiki practitioner. And so in the book, the concept of soul purpose is very much front and center in his book, right? And in the accounts that his clients talk about. Each soul has a distinct purpose or curriculum, if you will, shaped by its own unique experiences and developmental needs, right? And it could have been something as short of like, because he talks about um souls that only came in as babies and then they died as babies. That was the full cycle of what they came to learn and what they came to experience and or provide to their soul connect to their soul group person, right? Maybe their mom was in their soul group and she wanted to experience what it was like to overcome death and overcome grief, and so that's why that soul came in for her, or whatever the case may be. Souls are believed to incarnate to address unresolved lessons, heal karma, and cultivate qualities such as love, forgiveness, compassion. So a soul might choose to face particular hardships to cultivate resilience, empathy, or strength. And in Newton's model, the soul's journey is less about achieving a single or ultimate goal and more about an ongoing path of spiritual maturity and mastery, which I love because a lot of people come and ask, I want to know what my soul purpose is, but that's always hard to articulate because we're not here to just learn one thing. It's a continuous path that we are walking, right? So the same goals or purpose that we might have in our 20s may not be the same as they are in our 50s, right? So earthly life is a stage where these lessons unfold and where souls experience the dualities and challenges needed for growth. So my question to all of you is, what do you think about the idea of souls having a predefined life purpose? And does it change how you view your own life journey? And as I was saying that, this candle is doing some crazy stuff.
It's communicating with us.
It is. I feel like it's saying, yes, yes.
Right?
So the book was kind of insinuating that like you come in with a predetermined thing. Yes, is that correct?
Yes. So the whole concept is that you got together with your soul group. You're going to teach me this. You're going to teach me that. This is what I want to incarnate to learn. And so you've already decided what it is that you're here to do, versus this idea of like, oh,
That you have choice.
you have a choice.
You
Always have a choice.
You do,
right?
but somehow
You always
know.
have a choice because they even go through like people that have committed suicide and have bailed out of their commitment here and with all the things that they have to do
Oh,
to heal from that, which that was really interesting in itself.
oh wow, that's further on in the book.
It's about midway, I think.
Okay, cool
I think.
beans.
Yeah, this is a delicious
I know. Look at me. I'm just like.
I have to say that I think part of it is pre-planned, but then we also are the co-creators of shifting and changing that. And that's up to our choice of where we want to go into it. And I don't know if this is, it seems like it's on topic for me. Like for me, I feel like recently I've been noticing, actually a few months ago now, but because I'm like, I don't want this, is where I was experiencing, like, I feel multiple dimensions of this lifetime of like, here I am, a mother of three, and then having an experience of losing them. Like, I visually see it. And I get so devastated. And I'm like, gotta watch my language, good a baby. And I'm like, just in this grieving, right? And so it's like I'm shown another lifeline or another aspect of my life at this time. But I'm choosing where I am right now. And I go, nope, this is good. This is great. And also putting intentions in what it is that I'm doing. And this is something before it's like, okay, life happens for me, or life happened to me before, where now it's life happens for me. And now it's more like, no, I am one with this energy flow. And where is it that I really want to go? And that's what's
Life
been
happens with me.
Mhm. And so it's like I'm in this space right now where it's like, okay, we're all energy, but it's not all just predestined, probably to a certain point. And if we continue thinking, oh, life happens to me, life is going to happen to you. But when are you going to decide to say, I want this, and become the co-creator and be part of the flow?
So good. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I think that we come in with a predestined roadmap, and our egos can kick in and say, nope, this is actually what I'm going to do, and we have free will and a free choice. But then what happens when we reincarnate is like, or when we leave and we review, it's like, oh, I didn't actually learn anything. I didn't actually do what I went to Earth to do. Okay, so let me go back and try it again. So I think we come back as many times as we need to in order for our soul to grow and do it. But we have that choice. We can just live in our ego and decide these things, or get back in touch with our spirit and ask the spirit, okay, what is it that we're here to do? What is it that will fill our souls? Because I think it was in this book where he kind of talks about how the spirit and the ego is two completely different entities, right? And it's about in which one are we actually coming from and which one are we actually operating from? And we have that choice, right? Somebody once told me, actually, that same hypnotherapist was like, we all have the right to live our darkest timelines, our darkest lifetimes, and we just have to let them. And that was in itself was so powerful, because at the end of the day, everyone has a choice in how they're going to carry out their life. And once we die and we go through that whole process that we talked about in the beginning, then we reevaluate and kind of get to see, did we actually do what we set out to do? And it's okay if we didn't. We're just going to come back and do it again. Which is also funny, because my whole premise on healing is I am just so tired of this. I do not want to come back with my parents and redo this again. Like, I need to heal it. And so that was my determination around that. And now it's kind of like, oh, well, we probably decided to do this and treat each other this way. And it is what it is. I guess we'll see when we're on the other side.
I totally agree with you
Yeah.
on that. Yeah. I tell myself the same thing. It's like, God, I have to get it right this time. I don't want to do this again. Mhm.
Totally.
Yeah.
See, I thought it was intriguing how you were saying that you almost had the experience of like what it would be like if your children were, away from you. And that really just struck me, because I was giving an alignment. Actually, it happened in two different ones where I got to almost feel like I got to go through the feelings of what it would feel like to grieve these energies in these people. So I find it, that fire, yeah, that's going off, baby. So I find it intriguing that you were having something else like that happen to you. Yeah, so I'm speaking that.
Mhm.
Yeah, this is a good topic, and I love how that fire is burning.
Yeah, she's going off.
Because you know what? Like, it seems like several of us on this call been through like some crazy effing stuff with our family, with our parents. And I'm watching my language because the baby there. And the thing that I've been really reminding myself is we all come with our, with our agreements when we come into this life in this time. And so did our parents. And our parents have their own healing and work to do. But the thing is, they don't even know where to start. And I see that with my own parents. And there's this small word, but that has such deep, deep layers, called grace. And it's giving my parents the grace, for they do not know what they know. And I think that's the biggest thing I took from the religion I grew up with, is we don't know what we don't know, but we can find the answers when we're able to do the healing work and sit in the silence, because that's where our source is. When we're able to be calm, when we can sit back, or when we surrender, whatever that looks like, when we're just like, oh my gosh, I don't know what else to do in this desperate space, and able to just say, I surrender, guide me, show me. And that's all it takes, is just that word to show me, guide me. take the wheel. And so, um, you know, I've had my experience with my family, of course. And I look at my mom, and she was the most unemotional person I've ever met and known. And now it's like she'll say the words, I love you. But it also had to take for me to love myself and to do my own inner work. And so, yeah, so that whole thing, when we heal ourselves, we heal those around us because we become that reflection for others. And so, energy is so real, and we are so one with one another. So, that whole thing, oh, life is happening to me or life is happening for me, life is also a part of how we want it to be. Although it takes time because of the years of what was ingrained to us, the lies that was ingrained to us, right? That's kept in the subconscious mind, and this is where the hypnotherapy comes in. And with death doula, I love, Laura, how you mentioned that, because I definitely feel a strong connection with the other dimensions or that transition of life, and we're always connected. I don't think, like, after this body doesn't hold our souls anymore, that we just go away and go to the next transition. But there is this moment where we are there for our lineage, our legacy. And I say this because I didn't know my grandparents, but I do have a relationship with them now because I talk with them quite often, where it's like, okay, I'm done with you. But really, it's just I'm learning from them. There's different guides, and there's so many things that we don't know. And I don't like labels. I just learned to just say it's what it is. It's just another way. Call it angels, call it guides, call it our ancestors. They all have love for us in that highest frequency. So I just call it the love source. And that's how I'm just like, what's the word? I can't even say it. That's how I'm seeing the whole thing, is having grace with our family and on ourselves as we navigate this earth school. Thank you.
That spoke to my soul. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Yeah, my body was like buzzing.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Thank you for hearing me.
Anyone else? Okay, so I think we have time for one or two more little nuggets of thought. So in the book, he talks about between lives. So the realm basically described as a place where souls reflect and consult with spirit guides. I'm curious to know if anybody has ever felt guided or helped by an unseen force in your life, and how do you interpret these experiences?
By now, you guys all know that I have. And this is Sia. Yeah, several times. I should have been dead 7 times ago or 100 times ago. I should have died many deaths. But there was one particular time I was driving, and I was so tired, and I was like, I just want to get home. I just want to get home. And I was falling asleep at the wheel. I believe I did. And there was a being right next to me that looked like the universe, but in the shape of a human form. And it jolted me up. Like, I got this whole surge of energy. I did not sleep the rest of the way home. But it was like this jolt up to this love, just love and surrender of just peace, that you're okay. And then, like, the exit before I was supposed to exit, there was a really bad accident, and that was supposed to be me, and that was like a heavy sign with that, and it's over and over again on the road that I know I'm so divinely protected. I've even seen a griffin over my car, like just this vision that came up, and I go, there's like a griffin feeling, like, and it was like over my car again. It was like in a place I was feeling scary. I was driving. So I know I'm protected over the road. So that's been my experience with, you know, the protection and having truly love intervention come in and just said, nope, it's not your time. It's not your time. So yeah.
That is awesome. That is so beautiful. I love that. Thank you for sharing. Seriously.
I have one, but it's not so, I'm not happy about it but I guess I need to still mention it because it's been on my head, in my mind for so many years. And I was driving home. I was in my 20s. I was single and just partying away, after being in a relationship for 14 years, an abusive relationship. And so I was driving home, and we were like the freeway was not something I was used to. But I ended up, I don't know how I ended up off the freeway onto over like a bridge area. I thought I was still on the freeway. And I guess I got in front of some car, and all I saw was the headlights coming at me. And all I remember after that is obviously I screamed because I knew we were gonna crash, and next thing I know, I was on the side of the street. The car was like already leaving. All I could see was his red lights, and it just like snapped me out of my funk that I was in. I was like falling asleep while I was driving. That's what it was. And I could never get that out of my mind that I was supposed to die that day in a head-on collision. And for years, and finally, just recently, I was able to communicate. And I asked if that was a divine moment that God interfered, and I was told yes. So I knew it. I knew it then because I just had a feeling, especially because I actually, was snapped out, and I drove home. And ever since then, I said, never again. Never again am I going to be driving like this. And so, yes, so I felt some type of divine, and not just that time, but that was like the main one that I knew God had helped me through that. And that's my share.
Wow. Thank you.
Mhm.
Anyone else?
This isn't necessarily a protective moment. It's just guides woke me up one day. So there's this course I've been wanting to try out for a few years, like right when I was doing the academy as well. She was doing it live and I didn't take it. But for some reason, I knew the deadline this year and I just kept on not buying it, even though I knew I needed to be in there, kind of thing. And I shit you not, I wake up at like, oh, apologies, there's a child. Okay. I wake up and like jolt. It is probably 11:56 p.m., right? And normally with those things, it's like, it cart closes 4 minutes, right? My body wakes me up. Or no, it actually was past. it was past midnight, so I thought I had missed it. My husband wakes up because he sees me distraught, and he's like, "You know what? Just try. You'll get mad if you don't even try, you know?" And I'm like, "Oh, I missed it, you know?" I'm like, "Fine, I'll try." So I go in there, and it was for Pacific time. She has moved coasts. So I was able to get in last second. But it was so strange how my body was jolted up, you guys. Because I was kind of like, you know what, if I'm meant to be there, it'll happen for me somehow, right? And then my guides are like, no. So the way that my guides speak through me is quite very viscerally through my body. So
Beautiful.
Just like you were meant to be there.
yep,
Mhm.
I'm
Yeah.
excited.
Mm-hmm. You're not the only one that gets woken up by your guides. Just 2 nights ago or 2 mornings ago, I was dead asleep and I got this huge, I've been getting cramps on my right leg, but this was really bad and it was like 6 o'clock in the morning. But I forgot they changed the time, but I jolted up out of bed and I said, okay, because we had a family. I needed to go somewhere. I needed to be there early in the morning. I don't like to get up early at all, but at all, you have to tear me off the sheets off of me. And but I knew that it was, my guides waking me up because I don't like getting up. And I did say, thank you for waking me up, but can you please next time wake me up a little bit nicer? Because those cramps, they are really bad. I couldn't walk right for like the whole day. I kept aching. And it's like, please, those are really powerful, strong cramps. I just wanted to share that part.
Thank you. Anyone else? I'm just curious if Kimberly or Laura or Edma have any final thoughts on the book overall.
I shared this with you over dinner, but one of the other things that I kind of struggled with was like, which I've since, I'm working through it and kind of have made peace with it, was like, oh, even people that do bad things, like still get reincarnated, and there's like a cleansing process, but there isn't really like a retribution. So I don't know. That one was weird. I really wanted to like initially reject that. So I don't know, but I'll throw that out there.
I think that gets looped into like karma. Like the more and more I'm diving deeper into this, and I don't know that I subscribe to this yet, but I think what I am concluding is that coming back and reincarnating, you're going to experience life in a way that closes that karmic loop for the bad things you did in the previous lifetimes, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Which is really interesting, but I don't know. Who knows? Because we won't know until after we die. All right, any other final thoughts before we wrap up and I tell you our next book?
Just a sincere thank you, Jazzy, for holding these. Like, it has expanded my consciousness as I like to do. And yeah, it's books and things that I never otherwise would have sought out on my own. So thank you for holding space for us. I appreciate you.
And I appreciate all of you for showing up and reading these books with me. It's fun to like be able to talk about these things with somebody.
I was gonna say piggyback. Same. Like this has been amazing. Well, I always tell you that you're super magical and I love everything that you do. But this is like your book clubs. But even prior, I feel like I don't know if it was last year or the year before that, you would post like the books that you've read and I would like take a screenshot. So before your book club, I would always even ask you like, what do you recommend? Or I would just see what you were reading and I would just text you, oh my God, I just finished this book. And I'm so glad that you opened up the space for us because this is within the realm of what I would read, but I feel like they're so specific and they're just amazing books, and being able to share our thoughts and stuff is really cool. So thank you.
Yay.
Yes, thank you, Jesse, for just opening this up and keeping on with these gatherings. I love this, and I love these topics because you don't get to talk about this every day.
Yeah,
You know, so
for
thank
sure. You're
you.
welcome. Okay, so our next book is actually a really special one to my heart because the whole reason why I got into Reiki and I started on this red road was because of this man I used to work with. His name is Chris Embry, and he actually quit his job and went off and wrote a book. And the reason why I started Reiki was because he walked into my office one day and was like, "Oh, I was in rehab, and I don't know why I'm telling you this, but I feel like I need to tell you that one of the modalities that we had was Reiki." And I'm just looking at this man like, okay. And then 2 weeks later, I'm texting him and asking him for his Reiki lady because I just had a mental breakdown. And so it's back in 2014, 2015. And it so happens that his Reiki lady was 3 minutes from my house. It couldn't have been any easier. And the rest is history. And he recently wrote a book called Nightfall. And he has interweaved the concept of the law of attraction and how we can apply it to our everyday lives. Now, this is a fiction book where I think it takes place in the 18th century. Kimberly, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if you started that book yet, but it's about a knight and his duties, his everyday duties, and how he goes about life. And it's also about an alchemist. And in the end, what you'll get out of it is how to apply the laws of attraction to our everyday life, which is really beautiful. And he's actually agreed to come to our next book club meeting to discuss it. Unfortunately, it's not on Audible yet, but it's a really easy read. I finished it pretty fast because I couldn't put it down. And it's really entertaining, really interesting because a lot of what the knight goes through, I feel like I went through, or I had some sort of worldview about what this character was going through. And then in the end, he finds his path, and it's like, I'm pretty sure you're all going to be like, oh my God, I went through something similar and now I'm on the red road, right? Because I think we're all on the red road at this point. So really good book. Our next meeting is going to be January 21st. So next year, I'm still going to do every other month to give us enough time to read the things we like, and then also read the stuff we discuss here. It's only 6 books a year. And so I'll try to pick stuff that's really profound. But I also like having authors come to our book clubs. And he's actually a pretty interesting person, in my opinion. So I wanted to also support him in his journey.
What is the name? What is his name? I didn't get it.
I'm going to send it in an email.
Oh, perfect.
With the link of where to buy it. Yeah.
Okay.
It's called Nightfall by C.L. Embry.
C.L. Embry.
Yeah. All right. Beautiful souls. Thanks. I hope everyone has a beautiful holiday season. This is our last book meeting for the rest of the year, but I'll see some of you in ceremonies and other things. And so I hope to all keep in touch. I hope you all have a beautiful season, and we're going to meet for book club once again, January 21st. Those of you in the mentorship program, we have a meeting next week. Angela, I will see you tomorrow. Irma, Laura, and Sia, and Kimberly, I hope to see you all pretty soon in any event that we might be interested in together.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mwah.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone. Thank you for your shares.
Bye. Nice
you.
to meet you all.
You too.
Thank
Diles
you.
adiós.